Enter 8 is Enough. The series focused on Tom Bradford, played by Dick Van Patten, and his 8 children. David, the eldest, living on his own. Mary, the brainy one, attending medical school. Joni, the artsy one and a struggling actress. Susan, the tomboy. Nancy, the pretty face, always searching for direction. Elizabeth, the typical teenage all-American girl. Tommy, the rebellious bad boy of the Bradfords. And Nicholas, the sweet-faced youngest of the clan.
Boy, living in this family is like living in a small town.
Premiering in March of 1977, the show tackled the tough issues of sex, drug abuse, and single parenthood. Things that would have been taboo in prime time a few years earlier.
Oh, David, this is beautiful. Where did you find it?
During production of the first season, actress Diana Hyland, who played their mother, Joan Bradford, passed away. With Tom now a widower, he found love again with schoolteacher Abby, played by Betty Buckley. Abby officially joined the family when they married during the second season. Although the series rated in the top 20 throughout its run, 8 is Enough was canceled after its 5th season. As a staple of TV pop culture, the Bradfords were able to perfectly mix the idyllic world inside their household with real-world problems, earning them a place as one of the great TV families.
And 8 is enough to fill our lives with love.
And here they are for the first time as a cast in more than 20 years. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning. Good morning.
First of all, look at the smiles on your faces. What is it like to be reunited here?
I'm so happy to be with all of them again. I really mean it.
It's great. We actually were just saying it's kind of a gift. We thank you for getting us all together.
Yeah, well, can you believe that it has been more than 20 years? Betty,
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
They all look the same.
And to think, I look at you, Dick, and I realize, having read the note last night, what I didn't know before is you were not the original choice to play Tom Bradford. So how did you convince the producers?
I didn't. They shot it for 3 days with somebody else, and Freddie Silverman, which is the head of ABC, he looked at the rushes and he said, "No, get Dickie Van Patten. He's funnier." That's what.
Really?
It's true. Yeah, he has a funny bone. That's what he said.
And you ended up being you're the dad with these 8 kids, and at the time that this show was filmed, they were kids.
Oh yes.
Did you become a father figure to this cast?
First of all, I was surrounded by all these wonderful actors, and they were all so natural. They never looked artificial when they were acting. They were real. And so I think that's what made the show such a hit. Their acting, I really mean that. And William Blinn, who wrote the scripts, was wonderful.
We did a great job.
Yes.
Connie, what was it like on the set?
Goodness. It was a lot of fun. It was an awful lot of fun. I was just thinking of this one particular day when we had one of those hours and hours of dinner scenes, and we were getting really, a little annoyed and a little frustrated and, a little grumpy. And Dick says to all of us, he says, you're going to miss this. Once it's taken away, you're really going to miss this. You're really lucky.
And do you?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember him saying that to us. Yeah.
Grant, favorite moment, if there is one?
My favorite moments were the times that I would do scenes with Dick, who as a father figure was much funnier than my own dad, to the point that we would get the giggles sometimes, the laughing in church, and we would hold up production sometimes for half an hour because we couldn't gather ourselves.
I know. We couldn't look at each other with a straight face and start to laugh.
And I secretly wished for that all the time. It was so entertaining. I just loved it.
Willie, you played sort of the bad boy on the show. The kind of a troubled teenager, but
we were just talking about that backstage, and actually Lori was the one that brought up. She said, "You laugh more these days. You were such a serious young man," and I guess I was, but I'm laughing now. We've been laughing all morning. We're having a great time.
You mean you personally were a serious young man when you were playing that role?
I believe so. I mean, Lori, jump in.
Well, yeah, it just seemed to me that it's a big burden. I mean, Connie and Willie, and maybe Diane. No, not Diane, but certainly Adam. I mean, they were children, really.
Yeah.
And it's enormous responsibility that they had. And Willie just seemed very serious about his work and his music and his career. And, I was quite a bit older than him, and in a certain way, kind of the way older people are invisible to teenagers. That's
Sure.
how I felt with Willie. So I was.
That's pretty accurate.
And
I was
so
pretty
would
focused.
watch him
Not that
and-
anybody was invisible, but I was pretty focused. I hear Diane laughing in the background.
Yeah, I want to bring
I hear
Diane
her
in
laughing.
because we're
Where is she?
missing her. She is out in LA. Is there anything you want to say, Diane? Jump in.
Hi, everybody.
Beautiful.
That
But
laugh.
I'm warm and you're cold.
Yeah, well, exactly. Thanks for pointing that one
California
out.
And you're freezing.
Betty, it had to be hard for you. You came in the second season after Diana Hyland passed away. Was it hard fitting into this
It
group?
really was exactly
Yeah.
like being a real stepmother because they had only shot 6 episodes, I believe, with Diana, but the show was a huge hit. And so they brought me in. I was the idea of Brandon Tartikoff, who was the associate to Fred Silverman, and I had done a film called Carrie, and so they thought that character I played, Miss Collins, would be a nice prototype as Abby Bradford to come in and, you know, marry into the family. But everybody it was pretty uncomfortable. It was a bumpy ride for the first season or so, and things started to kind of calm down in season 2 and were really fabulous in season 3 and 4. So.
You know, Adam Rich could not be here. He played Nicholas, but he did send a letter he wanted us to read. And in part it says, although I may not be there in person, please know that I am there in spirit. To the Bradfords, my television family, I will always have a deep fondness for each of you in my heart. I consider it not only an honor, but a privilege to be a member of one of TV's greatest families. Now, he was the little one, the adorable kid. Dick, what do you remember most about him?
People loved Adam Rich. They loved he was played Nicholas, and people were naming their newborn babies Nicholas and they were cutting their children's hair the way Nicholas had his hair cut. He was a big hit on the show, and he was largely responsible for the show being such a big hit.
You
I
know,
think
the show was a comedy and a drama, and it dealt with a lot of issues that, at that time especially, it dealt with drugs, it dealt with sex, it dealt with a lot of heavy stuff. Why do you think that you were able to do that?
Good writers.
Good writers?
We had great writers.
Yeah.
It was a real hybrid in that time period because we were never really nominated for Emmys and stuff. I think we won the People's Choice or something.
Yeah.
one year.
We won 2 of them,
But every year, because they couldn't figure out if we were a comedy or a drama, because we did it all and we covered every conceivable subject matter.
You really did.
You know.
How would you compare it with what's on primetime network television now, Dave?
Oh, it seems so innocent, though, doesn't it?
Yes.
Now?
Your stuff does?
Yeah, we were cutting edge
it
then,
does.
but what looks cutting edge, you know,
Yeah.
now is very different.
There were also issues behind the scenes, and I don't want to dwell on this, but there was a certain amount of alcohol and drugs. Willie, I'm going to address this with you because you've been open about it since then. Talk to me about what was going on a little bit behind the scenes and what it's like for somebody to be a kid actor and then the show goes away.
Well, it was the 70s. I mean,
Yeah.
where weren't there drugs? I mean, there were as many here in New York as there were in LA, and you could find the same thing in Chicago. I think the thing that really happens in LA, and what I've always said about it, it's not so much that it's different in that environment. You just have access to more when it's happening.
Yeah.
And so I kind of see that whole environment as sort of like a small high school. You know, everybody knows what's going on. Everybody's dating each other, and not for any other reason that it's proximity.
Yeah.
You know, so I wouldn't say that anything was different certainly not on our set than any of the other sets that were going on.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it wasn't as big a deal as maybe people want to make it out to be.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
I wasn't aware of, I mean, there was not really just aware of anybody doing anything specific. It was just kind of, we were all there to work, and the days were long, and it wasn't that apparent in any single way.
Yeah.
It went completely over my head.
It did.
Yeah.
You didn't know it was because you were too old. You didn't know what was going on?
Well, you
or-
obviously didn't do enough drugs, did you?
I didn't. I
Joke.
really.
I'm kidding.
No, I know. And on a sad note, Lonnie O'Grady dying of an accidental drug overdose, certainly very sad for the cast. But I don't want to dwell on that, as I said. Looking back now, why do you feel this show was as, I know you said the writers, but why do you think it resonated so much with the audience back then? Were we looking for something because of Vietnam?
Well, no, but there was somebody at every age. So,
Yeah.
I think that helped. There was
I
a
did
young
too.
kid,
You know,
an
I
older
think
kid, an
We also
adolescent.
really got to the heart of the matter, you know, the soul of things. We really told very sensitive truths, and we're very realistic, I think.
I think Adam was cute.
Yeah, Adam was here too.
Jump in, Diane.
I gotta stop it at that,
You know-
guys. It is enough, the cast. But you're gonna be back in our next hour to tell us what you're doing now and also to answer viewer emails. We appreciate it.
Earlier this morning, we caught up with the cast of 8 is Enough. Well, they're back again to answer our email questions. First, we got Dick Van Patten, Betty Buckley, Grant Goodeve, Lori Walters, Connie Needham, Willie Ames, and from Los Angeles, Diane Kay. Good morning to everybody.
Hi, Diane.
Hey, Diane. Let me ask you, Diane. You were all fairly close in age coming, when this show started. What was that like? Was it a brother sister kind of relationship, or were there maybe some sparks going on? What was happening there?
No, actually, we were really very close.
Mm-hmm.
We were older than we portrayed, so I don't know if everybody knew that, but but we had a good relationship. I kind of think of the dining room scenes when we were all sitting around the table. We sort of looked like a 1970s Rockwell painting, Norman Rockwell.
Hey, in fact, I was
going
to ask you, during those scenes, did you guys were you actually eating during those scenes?
For the first hour or two.
I perfected eating small pieces of cracker and carrots and celery in order to survive.
Otherwise, you would have been the size of houses.
I know, those scenes took a long time.
It took all day.
What were you saying, Diane? I'm sorry.
One time we had an episode where we were eating sushi, but that was before sushi was in, and we had to eat shark, but it had been around for a while. And then we came back from lunch, and it was the same shark. It wasn't good. We had stomach aches after that.
Yikes. Oh, Betty, the interesting thing, some of the notes told us you weren't allowed to wear blue jeans.
Right. They thought I was actually younger than a couple of people. So, one of the producers brought me a book, said, in praise of older women. I'm like, but I'm 29 and turning 30, and he said, oh, well, that doesn't matter. And then I couldn't wear jeans. But also, Penny Marshall suggested that we have a food fight. I was at a party, and she said, you need to pinch that Dick Van Patten on the hiney. And she said, and you guys should have like a food fight. She said, we need to put a little spice into that show. So I suggested the food fight, and they finally let us have the food fight, but they were like, Abby can't be in the food fight.
You couldn't be in the food fight?
Because she's a role model. But they let me throw food off camera.
All right. Well, did Betty ever pinch your hiney?
No, she never
I
did.
certainly tried.
Well, it's not too late. Dick, in fact, you're working on a pilot right now for HBO.
Yes, for Don Milch's. Yeah, he wrote Deadwood, and it should be a big hit.
And Betty, you just finished up at Feinstein's.
I
doing
did a
little
4-week
cabaret.
engagement at Feinstein's, and I'm starting rehearsals for a new off-Broadway play called White Lies.
Oh, cool. And Grant, now you're a host of a show on our NBC affiliate in the Pacific Northwest.
King
called
TV in Seattle, Northwest Backroads. It's been on about 12 years, and we're about to go back into production with some new shows. It's
All
great,
right.
great travel outdoor show.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And Laura, you like to do a little community theater out there?
Well, actually, I still do professional theater.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
The Rubicon Theater in Ventura is a great company, and Santa Barbara Theater Ensemble. I did finally leave the big city of LA for a beautiful little town.
And a better life.
But luckily, there's some professional theater around that I'm still doing, and we're trying to start up one in Ojai called Theater 150.
Oh, terrific.
And I worked for, till just recently, for a number of years, for ironweedfilms.com, which is a documentary film club. And that was great.
And Connie, we know you had ovarian cancer. You've survived that. And how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling fantastic.
That's great.
Feeling
We love
fantastic. Thank you very much.
that. And Willie, you're currently, you're no longer acting, but you're a financial advisor in Kansas City at Waddell & Reed. How's that working out for you?
It's working out very well. It's working out very well. We're very proud of the things that we do there, and I enjoy it.
And Diane, we know that you've got probably the busiest job of all, being a mom. That I'm sure that keeps you busy.
Yes, I do a lot of carpool, lots of carpool.
The carpool. We know all about that. Let's get to some.
Keeps me busy.
We're going to do some emails here. This one from Elizabeth in Tennessee, wanting to know: do any of you have kids, and if so, how many?
2 kids.
3 sons.
3 sons
And 3 grandsons.
All right. Willie?
2.
All right. Grant?
2 daughters and a son, and I'm going to be a grandparent
Wow.
in May.
Congratulations.
We're going to have our first grandchild.
That's fantastic. Betty?
I have 4 horses, a parrot, 4 dogs, and 2 barn cats, and 3 house cats.
And a partridge in a pear tree. This is from Susan in Michigan. A lot of now famous actors appeared on the show. Who was the most fun guest star?
I like Don Johnson. He was fun.
Don Johnson was
He's good looking.
Yeah.
He played the boyfriend of one of the Casicos.
Right. And in a bit part, Robin Williams was on the set all day entertaining people, but he didn't really want to be on camera too much because he had a new series coming out.
That's right.
Mork and Mindy.
Diane, you had a choice?
You know who I really loved working with was Janice Page. When she worked with Dick on the show, the show just lit up. She was excellent, and I learned so much from her. Her comedy was just impeccable and wonderful, and she was a part of the family. But I enjoyed working with her a lot.
They wanted to get someone to
Great
play my
lady.
sister, so I recommended my real sister, Joyce Van Patten. But they said no, she doesn't look enough like your sister. They got Janice Page, and she was wonderful.
That's
perfect.
And Jodie Prather was Grant's wife on the show, and she's fabulous.
What about Heather Locklear?
Heather Locklear.
We'll have to do this again. This is fantastic. Thank you so much. The cast of 8 is Enough.
To fill our lives with